What's going on, guys? Jimmy Mahalik here, back with your second stimulus check update today. And we got some new updated information for you guys about the second stimulus check and also about the virus and unemployment for you guys today. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on second stimulus check updates, when it's coming out, how much it's going to be for. And also on this channel, I have videos about personal finance, investing, and videos about how to make money selling products on Amazon. Okay, first up, we're now seeing over 10 million infections in total globally. And the more that this virus keeps spreading and the more possible closures and shutdowns we see, the higher the likelihood of us getting more stimulus if people can't go back to work. As you can see here from the official CDC website, we've now had over 2.5 million cases of the virus in the US and about 45,000 new cases just yesterday alone, with 125,000 total deaths and 500 new deaths per day going on right now. And if you haven't heard, there are now states that are actually reversing or pausing their reopening. You can see Texas and Florida are now reversing and starting to close back up their economy. And we have multiple states here that are actually pausing their reopening as the virus keeps spreading. And we have new news from the Health and Human Services Department of the United States saying that the window is closing to stop the virus from spreading. And if the virus gets to a certain point, that we'll probably not be able to stop it at all. And I personally think that's what's going to happen. I think that this virus is not going away anytime soon. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar says we have to act, and people as individuals have to act responsibly. And we need to wear our face mask coverings if we're in areas where we can't social distance. He says, I am the president's health secretary, and I am telling people just what President Trump has said from day one of the guidelines. And as you can see here, more than a dozen U.S. states last week saw their worst day of virus cases to date. And daily infections topped 40,000 people per day for the first time in more than a month. Also this week, we have the June jobs reports coming out, and it's expected to be higher than people were predicting, but I don't really think that this is positive news. I mean, just because people are reopening and going back to work, I mean, that's what's expected. If people are going back to work, that of course they're gonna go back to their jobs. The thing that scares me is we still had a new 1.5 million claims of new unemployment people filing for unemployment just last week alone. And that's 14 straight weeks that over 1 million new people have filed for unemployment. That is just absolutely crazy. And I don't see any good news in this, that a million people every single week, a million or 1.5 million new people every single week are out of work. And the more bad news and the more prolonged, virus cases we see, the more closures we see happening, the only good thing that can come out of that is the higher and higher likelihood of a second stimulus check and even possibility of more stimulus checks or monthly stimulus checks going forward. Just this week, President Donald Trump announced that over the next couple of weeks that a very generous second stimulus payments directly to Americans could be announced. He says we will be doing another second stimulus package, and it will be very good and very generous. You guys can let me know your thoughts down below on what you think a very generous second stimulus check to Americans would be, how much it would be, and how soon you think it should be. Also, if you can, hit the like button for me down below. It really helps out my channel. And I get some comments in the comment section of, why do you cover the virus? Why do you cover news about that? Why do you cover some other slightly different things besides the actual second stimulus check? And then I get other people that say, oh, thank you for keeping me updated on that. You're actually the way I get my news in a very short way every single day. Well, the reason is because things like the virus spreading, things like how the economy is doing and unemployment numbers are directly tied into whether we will see more stimulus, whether we'll see a second stimulus check, whether we'll see more stimulus in the form of extending the unemployment to 20 to 40 million Americans. As you can see here in this article from Forbes, the main three factors that will determine if we get a second stimulus check are: the number one reason is renewed virus outbreaks. If we continue to see this spread and we start to see a second closure and a second shutdown, then we're probably going to almost be guaranteed more stimulus checks to Americans. The number two reason would be the unemployment rate. The more people that are unemployed, out of work, and are really struggling, the more that hurts our economy, hurts businesses, hurts everything in the US. I mean, if people don't have money to spend, then the economy hurts, businesses hurt, they have to shut down, they have to stop people from going to work. So the higher the unemployment rate remains, if we continue to see millions of people every single week filing for unemployment, the higher the likelihood we will see the $600 per week bonus for unemployed people from the federal government extended past the July 31st deadline, which it is set to end on. And the number three main reason would be President Donald Trump's poll numbers. Believe it or not, if President Trump starts to see really bad poll numbers and the Republican support behind him, which is mainly the Senate, and the Senate is the one that is holding up the second stimulus package right now, if they see President Donald Trump's poll numbers be down and not much support for him to be reelected in November, which is only a few months away, then the Republicans will come out with more support to give Americans a second or a third stimulus check, or even a monthly stimulus check, with the wording on it that, hey, this check is from Republicans, this check is from Donald Trump. You may have actually received a letter directly from the White House and President Donald Trump after the first stimulus check passed, basically giving the impression that he gave the stimulus check to Americans. Now, he does actually have a sway on it. Like I said, the Republicans are completely behind him, and if he wants a second stimulus check, then it becomes more and more likely that we will see one. And if the president is in support of stimulus, then the Republicans tend to be in support of more stimulus, and you need the Democrats and the Republicans to pass bills for more stimulus to the people. And that is exactly what we've been hearing from President Donald Trump in the last week or two, that he is fully in support of another second stimulus check, and he's urging Republicans to pass it. In fact, a growing number of people think that his reelection is directly tied to if we see a second or even a third stimulus check, because the more money that people get in the form of stimulus checks, the more thankful they are to the government and the White House and President Donald Trump. So there's people that are actually saying that his reelection depends on more stimulus checks coming out to Americans. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, whether you agree or disagree. We're now also starting to see more reports from economists and U.S. government officials that are directly saying if we don't get more stimulus, that the economy won't recover or could even completely crash. And even the stock market can rise by, 1,000 points or a couple percent on any given day, just with the possibility of new stimulus coming out. If we didn't have stimulus, the stock market would be much, much lower than we are now. And as you can see in this graph of the stock market, the Dow Jones index is around 25,000 now. It was around 29,000 before the pandemic. 25,000 is actually not that much lower. It's only about 20% lower. We were much, much lower at the end of March. We were all the way down to 18,500, and the market shot up by 20% in 1 week alone, just because of new stimulus that was being passed. And now we're starting to see the stock market plummet again. It was down by over 730 points on Friday alone in 1 day, because of the fear of the virus spreading. And if you want to know just one thing about the stock market in the recent past 20 years, since 2008 and even now, is that whenever the stock market crashes, the government will almost instantly pass more stimulus to businesses, to jobs, and possibly directly to people to spend money to support businesses. So if we see the stock market crash again, guarantee yourself we'll see more stimulus, because that is like the first thing the government will react on, is if, oh my God, if the stock market's crashing, we need to support the stock market. We need to support businesses. That is a leading indicator of whether or not we will see more stimulus. And as the stock market has been rising over the last 2 months, stimulus news has kind of slowed down a little bit. We've seen support from the president and now from Republicans just in the recent couple of weeks. And the reason why they didn't do it faster, or one of the main reasons, was because of the stock market going up every single day. It's been going up and up and up and up, even though there's 20 or 30 million people still out of work. But as we start to see more news from economists and US government officials that if we don't have more stimulus, the economy will crash, then that becomes more and more likely that we will see more stimulus in the future. One of the main things that will be affected is that $600 per week bonus of unemployment stimulus money to unemployed people, whether or not they will extend that past July 31st, which is about a month away. So the deadline for that is looming very quickly. I expect to see a lot of new news on whether or not they're going to extend that unemployment benefit in the next few weeks. And this top video I'll link over here is new news about the retroactive and the $2,000 retroactive stimulus check. And this bottom video is the new announcement by President Trump about more stimulus. And over here, I'll link a playlist that teaches you how to start selling on Amazon. I have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income by selling one product on Amazon. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.